The wine cost more than my first car, but if I had taken one more sip, I wouldn't be alive to tell you this story. I can still feel her fingers digging into my wrist. The pressure wasn't gentle. It wasn't a tap or a polite interruption. Jennifer's grip was the kind that left marks, the kind that said, if you don't listen right now, you're going to die. Here's what you need to understand about that moment. I was surrounded by 200 of the most powerful people in corporate America. The chandeliers above us cost more than most people's houses. The woman next to me in the teal dress was a complete stranger I'd hired off a website 3 days earlier. And somewhere in that room, someone wanted me dead. The question I'm about to ask you isn't hypothetical. It's the exact choice I faced that night. You're holding a glass of wine. The most important people in your life are watching. Your future depends on this single moment. A woman you barely know whispers 5 words. Don't drink that. It's poison. Do you run or do you drink? Before you answer, let me tell you how a single father trying to keep his daughter ended up at a poisoned table with a woman who knew too much. Before we continue, please tell us where in the world you're watching from. We love seeing how far our stories travel. It reminds us that hope and second chances are universal languages. My name is George Trotter, and 6 months before the gala, I was losing everything that mattered. The custody hearing was scheduled for March 15th. My ex-wife's lawyer had already painted me as unstable, unreliable, incapable of providing the life our daughter deserved. The evidence wasn't pretty. I'd missed 3 birthday parties because of work. I'd forgotten to pick her up from soccer twice. I lived in a studio apartment above a laundromat because a divorce had cleaned me out. But here's what they didn't tell the judge. Every missed birthday was because I was working double shifts to pay child support. Every forgotten pickup was because I was in meetings fighting to keep my position at Morrison and Hayes Financial Group. The studio apartment? That was temporary. Everything was temporary until I could prove I was the father Emma needed. That's when the invitation arrived. Morrison and Hayes annual gala. Black tie required. +1 expected. The managing director had made it clear during our last meeting. This wasn't optional. The firm was courting 3 major investors, and they needed every senior analyst looking successful, stable, impressive. I had 72 hours to find a date who could convince a room full of sharks that George Trotter had his life together. Dating apps were useless. Everyone I knew was either married, unavailable, or had already heard about my messy divorce. That's when I found professional companion services. The website was sleek, discreet, exactly what desperate men use when they need to rent credibility. The profile I chose was simple. Jennifer S. Corporate Events. Excellent conversationalist. Professional experience in finance and law. Her photo showed a woman with dark hair, a confident smile, the kind of polish that said she belonged in boardrooms. I paid the deposit. $700 for 4 hours. It seemed insane, but the alternative was showing up alone, admitting I couldn't even maintain a relationship long enough to attend a work party. The morning of the gala, my phone buzzed. A text from Jennifer. Confirmed for tonight. I'll meet you at the Grandview Hotel lobby at 7. Wear the navy suit, not the black. Navy reads better under ballroom lighting. I'd never told her what suits I owned. That should have been my first warning. Jennifer arrived exactly on time. The teal dress fit her like it had been designed specifically for this night. Her hair was pulled back in a way that was elegant without being too formal. Her makeup was subtle. Everything about her appearance said, I belong here. George. She extended her hand. Her grip was firm, professional. You look nervous. I'm not great at these things. I admitted, "That's why you hired me." She adjusted my tie without asking permission. Her fingers worked quickly, efficiently. "Here's what you need to know. Tonight, I'm your girlfriend of 6 months. We met at a charity auction. We're serious but not engaged. You're doing well at work, and I'm a consultant at a boutique firm. Keep it vague. Let me handle the details." "Have you done this before?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "More times than I can count." We entered the ballroom together. The room was everything I'd feared. Crystal chandeliers that probably cost 6 figures. Tables draped in white linen with centerpieces of orchids and roses. A string quartet playing something classical in the corner. And everywhere, executives in tuxedos and women in gowns that cost more than my monthly rent. "Smile," Jennifer whispered. "You just got promoted, remember? Act like you own this room." The managing director, Robert Chun, spotted us immediately. His eyes moved from me to Jennifer, and I watched his expression shift from skepticism to approval. "George, good to see you." He shook my hand, his grip deliberately firm. "And who is this?" "Jennifer Stewart," she said before I could fumble the introduction. "I've heard wonderful things about Morrison and Hayes. George speaks very highly of the firm." "Does he now?" Robert's smile was the kind that never touched his eyes. "Well, George has been making quite an impression lately. We've been discussing some exciting opportunities for his future. This was it, the moment I've been working toward for months. I'm grateful for the chance," I said, trying to sound confident instead of desperate. Robert leaned in closer. "Between you and me, the partners have been watching you. Tonight is important, George. Show them you're ready for the next level." He walked away, leaving Jennifer and me standing at the edge of the ballroom. What did he mean by that? Jennifer asked quietly. "I think they're going to offer me a promotion. Senior vice president. It would mean more money, better hours. Proof that I'm stable enough for full custody." Jennifer's expression changed. For just a second, I saw something flicker across her face. Fear? Recognition? But then her professional mask returned. "That's wonderful," she said, but her voice had gone flat. The next 2 hours were a blur of handshakes and small talk. Jennifer was perfect. She laughed at the right moments, asked intelligent questions, touched my arm with exactly the right amount of affection. No one suspected she was paid to be there. But I kept noticing small things that didn't add up. She knew the names of partners I had never mentioned. When Robert's wife asked about Jennifer's background, she rattled off details about a consulting firm that I later realized didn't exist. And twice, I caught her watching the exits like she was planning an escape route. At 9:30, the CEO took the stage. Marcus Wainwright was 73 years old and worth approximately $400 million. He'd built Morrison and Hayes from nothing, and everyone in that room owed their careers to him. "Good evening, everyone." His voice boomed through the microphone. "Tonight, we celebrate not just our successes, but the people who made them possible." He began calling names. Promotions, bonuses, recognitions. "And finally," Marcus said, his eyes scanning the crowd until they landed on me, "I want to recognize someone who has shown exceptional dedication this year. George Trotter, come up here." My heart was hammering. This was it. Jennifer's hand found mine. "Congratulations," she whispered. I walked to the stage. Marcus handed me a glass of wine from a tray beside the podium. "George has exemplified everything we value at this firm," Marcus continued. "Hard work, loyalty, commitment. Tonight, we're pleased to announce his promotion to Senior Vice President." The room erupted in applause. I raised a glass, ready to toast to everything I'd sacrificed for this moment. That's when Jennifer's hand clamped onto my wrist. The look on Jennifer's face wasn't acting. Pure terror. The kind of expression you can't fake. Her eyes were locked on the wine glass in my hand, and her grip on my wrist had gone from firm to painful. "Don't drink that," she whispered. "It's poisoned." Time seemed to stop. The applause was still thundering around us. Marcus was still smiling on stage. 200 people were watching, expecting me to take that sip and complete the moment. "What are you talking about?" I hissed back. "I can't explain right now," Jennifer said, her voice barely audible over the applause. "But if you drink that wine, you will die. Do you trust me?" Did I trust her? I'd known this woman for exactly 3 hours. She was a hired companion. Someone I'd found on a website. Someone who'd already lied about her background tonight. But her fear was real. I looked down at the wine. Deep burgundy. Probably a vintage worth hundreds of dollars. Nothing about it looked wrong. No cloudiness. No strange smell. Just an expensive glass of wine at an expensive party. Marcus was still talking. "George, don't be shy. Let's toast to your future." The room was waiting. I made a decision that would either save my life or destroy my career. "I'm sorry," I said loudly, setting the glass down on a nearby table without drinking. "I'm actually not feeling well. I appreciate this honor more than you know, but I think I need some air." The applause faltered. Confusion rippled through the crowd. Marcus's smile never wavered, but his eyes went cold. "Of course, George. We'll celebrate properly later." I walked off the stage with Jennifer beside me. Her hand was still on my arm, guiding me toward the exit with the determination of someone who knew exactly where she was going. "Slow down," she whispered. "Don't look panicked. Smile. Wave at people. Act like you're just stepping out for a moment." We made it halfway across the ballroom when Robertson blocked our path. "George." His voice was friendly, but there was something sharp underneath. "Everything all right?" "Just need some air," I repeated. "Big moment, you know." "Of course." Robert's eyes moved to Jennifer, studying her with an intensity that made my skin crawl. "Jennifer, was it? I don't think I caught which firm you work for." "Stewart Consulting." Jennifer said smoothly. "Boutique operation. Mostly corporate restructuring." "Interesting." Robert's smile widened. "I'll have to look you up." We finally made it to the exit. The hallway outside the ballroom was blessedly empty. Jennifer pulled me toward a service corridor I didn't even know existed. "What the hell is going on?" I demanded once we were alone. "Not here," she said, checking over her shoulder. "We need to get somewhere safe first." "Safe from what? Who poisoned that wine? And how did you even know?" "George." She turned to face me, and for the first time I saw the real Jennifer, not the polished companion, not the perfect date, just a terrified woman who was in way over her head. I wasn't sent by the agency. My blood went cold. "What?" "The agency got a call 3 days ago offering triple their usual rate to send someone to accompany you tonight. The woman who was supposed to come got a better offer at the last minute. They called me as a replacement because I fit the physical description." "So who hired you?" Before she could answer, footsteps echoed down the hallway. We both froze. Marcus Wainwright appeared around the corner, his elderly frame moving with surprising speed. But it wasn't his presence that made my stomach drop. It was the smile on his face. The same smile he'd given me on stage. The same smile that had announced my promotion. George, Marcus said, his voice gentle, almost grandfatherly. Why haven't you finished your drink? If you are listening right now, help me prove something wrong. My mother said I would not even reach 300 subscribers, but I believe stories like this deserve to be heard. Help me show her that these tales matter. Please subscribe to this channel by hitting the subscribe button. You can also turn on the notification bell to be updated when a new video is posted. And let's keep breathing life into stories that were never meant to stay silent. Now let's continue. Marcus wasn't supposed to be here. CEOs don't chase junior executives down service corridors. They don't corner people in empty hallways. They don't personally care whether someone finishes a glass of wine, unless that glass of wine was never about celebration. Marcus, I said, trying to sound calm. I told everyone I'm just not feeling well. I heard. He took a step closer. The hallway suddenly felt much smaller. But see, George, that presents us with a problem. A very public problem. You just rejected a toast in front of our most important investors. You made me look foolish. Jennifer's hand found the small of my back, a silent warning. I didn't mean any disrespect. I said carefully, I'm honored by the promotion. Are you? Marcus interrupted. His grandfatherly tone had evaporated, because from where I'm standing, it looks like you brought a very interesting guest tonight. Someone who seems to know more than she should. He was looking directly at Jennifer now. I don't know what you mean, Jennifer said, but her voice had lost its earlier confidence. Don't you? Marcus pulled out his phone. I had Robert do some checking during your little exit. There's no Stewart Consulting. There's no Jennifer Stewart with your background in any database we can access, which means you're either very good at hiding your identity or someone sent you here for a very specific purpose. My mind was racing. Nothing about this made sense. Why would Marcus care who I brought as a date? Why would he poison my drink? I was nobody, a mid-level analyst who worked 80-hour weeks and still couldn't afford a decent apartment. We need to leave, Jennifer said quietly. Right now. But when I turned toward the exit, 2 security guards had materialized at the end of the hallway. We were trapped. Marcus gestured toward a door marked kitchen, staff only. Let's talk somewhere more private. Unless you prefer to have this conversation in front of 200 witnesses. We had no choice. Jennifer and I followed him into the hotel's kitchen. The space was massive, all stainless steel and industrial lighting. The dinner service had ended hours ago, so the kitchen was empty except for one prep cook who took one look at Marcus and quickly disappeared through a back entrance. Marcus closed the door behind us. Here's what's going to happen, he said, his voice eerily calm. I'm going to ask questions. You're going to answer honestly. And then we're going to figure out how to clean up this mess before it damages the firm. I don't understand any of this, I said. Why would you poison my drink? What did I do? Marcus actually laughed. Poison? George, you really don't know, do you? Know what? Why your ex-wife's lawyer has been so successful. Why the custody battle keeps going against you. Why every time you get close to stable employment, something goes wrong. Ice flooded my veins. What are you saying? I'm saying that for the past 8 months, Morrison and Hayes has been very carefully dismantling your life. The missed pickups? We scheduled mandatory meetings during your daughter's events. The financial struggles? We've been systematically denying your bonus requests while giving them to everyone else at your level. The studio apartment? We had HR recommended to your divorce attorney as evidence of your instability. I couldn't breathe. Why? Because 2 years ago, you discovered something you weren't supposed to discover. He pulled out a tablet and showed me a spreadsheet. Numbers, accounts, transactions I vaguely recognized from an audit I conducted years earlier. You flagged these irregularities in the Pemberton account, Marcus continued. You sent a memo to your supervisor questioning whether the firm was properly reporting capital gains. Do you remember? I did. Barely. It had seemed minor at the time. My supervisor told me to drop it, that it was handled above my pay grade. That memo, Marcus said, would have exposed a $20 million tax fraud scheme, a scheme that involves 12 partners, 14 offshore accounts, and financial irregularities that would have sent half our leadership to prison. So you've been destroying my life because I almost caught you stealing? Not stealing, optimizing. But yes, essentially. Marcus's tone was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing quarterly earnings. We've been waiting for the right moment to remove you permanently. Tonight seemed appropriate. A tragic accident. Senior executive over-celebrates his promotion, has too much to drink, maybe takes some pills, dies quietly in his apartment later. Very sad. Very clean. Except I didn't drink the wine, I said. Except you didn't drink the wine. Marcus turned to Jennifer. Which brings us to you. Who sent you? Who knows about tonight? Jennifer straightened her shoulders. When she spoke, her voice was steady. My name isn't Jennifer Stewart. It's Jennifer Mathis. And 3 years ago I worked for you. I stared at her. What? I was your daughter's nanny, George. You fired me 2 weeks before the divorce. The memory hit me like a physical blow. The young woman who'd taken care of Emma, the one my ex-wife had insisted was inappropriate, unprofessional. I'd let her go without asking questions because I was trying to save my marriage. Why are you here? I asked. Jennifer's eyes were bright with unshed tears. Because 3 months ago, your ex-wife hired me to find dirt on you. She wanted proof you were unstable so she could win full custody. But while I was digging into your life, I found something else. I found evidence of what Morrison and Hayes has been doing to you, and I found out about tonight. How? Marcus demanded. Your assistant, Caroline. She's been having an affair with Robert Chin for 6 months. She talks in her sleep. He brags about work. I've been putting pieces together. Marcus's expression finally cracked. Real anger flickered across his face. You've been recording conversations. I've been documenting crimes. Jennifer pulled out her phone. Everything. The offshore accounts. The tax fraud. The systematic harassment of George. The plan to kill him tonight. I've sent copies to 3 different lawyers, the SEC, and a journalist at the Wall Street Journal. If anything happens to either of us, those files go public immediately. The kitchen was silent. Then Marcus started laughing. A genuine, delighted laugh that was somehow more terrifying than his earlier threats. You magnificent idiot, he said to Jennifer. Do you have any idea what you just done to yourself? The firm has lawyers who will destroy every piece of evidence you think you have. Will prove the recordings were doctored. Will discredit you as a disgruntled employee with a grudge. And you, he turned to me, you'll never work in finance again. Every firm in this city will blacklist you. Your custody battle? Over. Your daughter will grow up thinking her father was a paranoid conspiracy theorist who threw away his career over delusions. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll be alive to see her grow up. I grabbed Jennifer's hand. We're leaving. Security is outside every exit, Marcus said calmly. You won't make it to the parking lot. Then I guess we'll cause a scene. I pulled out my phone. I'm going to walk back into that ballroom and tell everyone what you just told me. I'm going to scream it, make them call the police. Create enough chaos that you can't quietly clean this up. Marcus's smile faded. That would be unwise. Probably. But here's the thing I've learned tonight. I've spent 8 months letting you destroy my life because I was trying to look stable and professional and appropriate. I followed every rule, played every game, and you were planning to kill me anyway. I started toward the door. George. Marcus's voice was sharp. If you do this, you're choosing your daughter's happiness over her security. You'll be alive, but you'll have nothing to give her. I stopped, turned back to face him. You're wrong, I said. The one thing I can give her is a father who tells the truth, even when it costs everything. That's worth more than any promotion. Jennifer and I walked out of that kitchen together. We didn't make it to the ballroom. Security stopped us in the hallway, but instead of escorting us out quietly, I started talking, loudly, about poison wine and tax fraud and murder plots. Hotel guests heard. Other gala attendees came out to see what the commotion was about. Someone called the police. Within 20 minutes, the Grandview Hotel lobby was full of cops, lawyers, and very confused executives in tuxedos. The investigation took 3 months. Jennifer's recordings were admissible. The journalist at the Wall Street Journal had already verified enough of her evidence to run a preliminary story. The SEC opened a formal investigation into Morrison and Hayes. Marcus Wainwright was arrested on 14 counts of tax fraud, conspiracy, and attempted murder. Robert Chin and 5 other partners were indicted. The firm collapsed within weeks. But Marcus had been right about one thing. I lost everything. Morrison and Hayes' lawyers made sure I'd never work in corporate finance again. Every firm in the city knew my name, knew I'd exposed my own employer, knew I was the kind of employee who couldn't be trusted to stay quiet. The custody battle got worse before it got better. My ex-wife's lawyer argued that my paranoid accusations proved I was unstable. For 6 months, I only saw Emma on supervised visits. I ended up working as a financial consultant for a small nonprofit. The pay was terrible. The office was in a strip mall. I wore khakis instead of suits. But here's what I didn't lose. My life, my daughter, and my ability to look at myself in the mirror. 8 months after the gala, the criminal trial concluded. Marcus Wainwright was sentenced to 12 years in federal prison. The other partners took plea deals. The evidence Jennifer had gathered helped secure convictions on all counts. And on a Tuesday morning in October, the judge granted me full custody of Emma. My ex-wife had fought it, but the truth came out during the trial. She'd known about Morrison and Hayes' plan to destroy my custody case. She'd been receiving payment from the firm in exchange for filing new motions, creating conflicts, keeping me unstable. The day Emma moved into my apartment permanently, she asked me a question I'll never forget. Dad, was it worth it? We were unpacking her clothes into the tiny dresser in her new bedroom. The apartment was still above a laundromat. The walls were still thin. But it was ours. Was what worth it? I asked. All the bad stuff. Losing your job. Almost dying. Everything. I sat down on her bed. Do you know why I went to that gala? She shook her head. I wanted to prove to everyone that I was successful enough to be your dad. I thought if I got promoted, if I made enough money, if I looked impressive enough, the judge would let you live with me. That's dumb, she said with the brutal honesty of 11-year-olds. You're right. It was dumb. Because the whole time I was trying to look like a good father, I was forgetting to actually be one. But you're here now, she said. I'm here now. She hugged me. And in that moment, I realized something that Marcus Wainwright would never understand. True success isn't about the size of your office or the number on your paycheck. It's about looking at the person you become and not feeling ashamed. Jennifer and I stayed in touch. She never went back to private investigation work. The trial had exposed her methods, burned all her professional bridges. Instead, she went back to school, finished a degree in social work. 6 months after the custody decision, she called me. "I need to tell you something," she said, "and I need you to not interrupt until I'm done." Okay, I didn't save you that night because I'm a good person. I saved you because I was angry. Angry at you for firing me without listening to my side. Angry at your ex-wife for using me. Angry at the whole system that lets men like Marcus Wainwright destroy people for profit. She took a breath. "I wanted you to live, so you have to face what you've done. So you have to look at your daughter and explain why you trusted the wrong people. I wanted you to suffer. I waited. But watching you these past months," she continued, "watching you choose honesty even when it cost everything, I think I was wrong about you, George. I think maybe we were both victims of the same machine." "Jennifer," I said quietly, "thank you." "For what?" "For being angry enough to save my life." She laughed. A real laugh, not the polished performance from a gala. "You're welcome, I guess." There's no perfect ending to this story. I work a job I never imagined I'd have. I live in an apartment that will never impress anyone. Emma goes to public school instead of the private academy her mother wanted. But every morning, I wake up and know that the life I'm living is mine, not a performance, not a charade designed to impress judges or executives or anyone else. The wine that night really was poisoned. The toxicology report found concentrated antifreeze mixed with sedative. I would have been dead within 6 hours. Sometimes I think about that moment on stage. The glass in my hand, the applause thundering around me, the choice to trust a stranger over everything I thought I wanted. And I think about all the people who would have taken that drink, the ones who wanted a promotion so badly they'd ignore every warning sign, the ones who valued appearance over truth, the ones who thought success meant impressing the right people at the right parties. I would have been one of them. I was one of them, until a woman in a teal dress grabbed my wrist and forced me to make a different choice. So here's what I tell Emma when she asks about that night. "Baby, sometimes the things that look like success are actually poison, and sometimes the things that look like failure are actually freedom. The hard part is knowing the difference before you take the drink." She thinks about this. How do you know? You find someone brave enough to tell you the truth, and then you're brave enough to listen. Last month, Emma asked if she could invite Jennifer to her birthday party. She saved your life, right? Emma said, "That makes her family." Jennifer came to the party. She brought a ridiculously expensive gift that she clearly couldn't afford. She ate cake in my cramped apartment and helped clean up afterward. As she was leaving, she pulled me aside. "I got a job offer," she said. "Social services position. Good benefits. Regular hours. That's wonderful. It's in Seattle. I'd have to move." My heart sank a little. "You should take it. I wanted to ask you something first." She looked nervous. "Would it be weird if I stayed in touch with Emma? Like, actual stayed in touch. Not just Christmas cards. Real friendship." "Jennifer, you saved my life. You can stay in touch with my daughter for as long as you want." She smiled. "Good. Because I think she's a lot smarter than both of us combined." That was 4 months ago. Jennifer sends postcards from Seattle. Emma sends back drawings and stories. We video chat once a month. It's not a fairy tale ending. Jennifer isn't a romantic interest. She's not a replacement family. She's just a person who did the right thing when it mattered most, and we're all trying to figure out what comes next. But I'll tell you this. Every day I wake up in my modest apartment with my daughter sleeping in the next room, and I'm grateful I didn't drink that wine. Because the life I have now might not be impressive. It might not win custody battles or promotions or approval from people who measure success in square footage and salary. But it's real. It's mine. And I earned it by finally having the courage to choose truth over appearances. That's worth more than any poisoned toast. So here's the real question. Did you subscribe yet? Thousands of people will listen to this story and won't subscribe. Please don't be that person. Kindly support what I do here by subscribing. And then drop in the comment section if you like part 2 of George, Emma, and Jennifer's story. What challenges will they face as George rebuilds his career? How will Jennifer's new life in Seattle change their relationship? Will Marcus Wainwright's connections find a way to retaliate from prison? Let me know if you want to hear more.